Absolutely. No, I think that, back when I was at Disney, the first movie that kind of broke out from the rest was The Little Mermaid. And, it started to kind of galvanize the audience and get people excited again about animation. And then Beauty and the Beast came out and did bigger box office and obviously, got nominated for an Academy Award. And then Aladdin came out. It was even bigger. Then Lion King came out. And so there was a progression there. But when I started working at Disney, animation was not, wasn't really being appreciated, I think, by American audiences as much as it is today. I mean, now these movies come out and just can be incredibly successful. Frozen, obviously, is a huge example. People just loving the movie and going back and again. And the Lego movie, So, yeah. I think, well, a big reason is a lot of times actors have kids and, sometimes the movies they make aren't necessarily appropriate for kids, so they can't share them with their own families. So I think they sometimes very, very much get excited about the idea of being in an animated movie that they can actually share with their kids. So I think that's a big draw. And it's also not, relative to a traditional movie, not a lot of work. It's usually fairly easy on their schedule because we typically will work with an actor, maybe a dozen times over the course of the movie. The part is it's more technical. There's a lot that goes into making an animated film because it's like making, an enormous jigsaw puzzle. It's like you have to put all the pieces together. You have to first create all the pieces, then you have to fit them all together to ultimately, come together in this film. You never see a performance, like you do in a live action film. In a live action film, you have the script, you've got your actors, you can actually work in real time with the actors creating the scene and work with it that way. But in animation, it's all broken down into bits and pieces, and you have to be able to fabricate each piece. So it's probably slightly more conceptual. Although there are plenty of live action filmmakers that are able to do that. Certainly, we saw Gravity. Obviously, Alfonso Cuarón did an amazing job making this movie, which is almost virtually an animated movie because it's all putting it together conceptually first. I thought we had to do justice to the original was probably the most important thing. We had to be true to the character. We had to kind of bring Mr. Peabody back as if Mr. Peabody was a real character. Not something that we were going to change or try to improve. I suppose. We sort of said it was great in its time, and he's sort of classic. So I think that was mostly it. I think we tried as much as possible to be true to the original show, even though it's entirely different making a feature film out of it. And the form of it is entirely different. So it's not done in sort of limited animation. The style of it is different. Obviously, the voice is different. But for me, there was sort of something essential about his character that I wanted to portray in the film. That's true of the original show. That's actually one of the hallmarks of Jay Ward, is that the writing was so smart and the references were very, certainly much more adult references than kids, but you could watch it as a kid and still enjoy it and still laugh and have fun and sort of take it at face value. But then there's material there that you would absolutely not get until you were older. But for me, that was actually kind of one of the appeals of Jay Ward, was that as I grew older and checked back in with some of these things, I would become more and more aware of what it was all about. And that was kind of fun to kind of grow with it. Absolutely. Well, I think, on any film, you're trying to determine what the look of the film should be as it relates to the story, as it relates to the tone and the sensibility of the story. And on this movie, it was very much that way, because in a lot of computer animation, sometimes they can go after kind of a realism, a kind of a naturalism, a natural look. And very much we didn't want to do that. We wanted to make it look very, the design sort of pop and look a little bit more colorful and look a little bit more simpler in the shapes, look a little bit more drawn from the era of the original show, sort of a mid-century kind of a design sensibility. So that's actually one of the very beginning phases of making any movie. You sort of have to decide what the look of the movie will be.